Coliseum. Fox Saturday Baseball presents an AL West Division rivalry matchup. The Los Angeles Angels and the Oakland A's. The first Saturday out of the All-Star break finds the Angels red hot, trying to win their 9th consecutive series in just 2.5 games behind perhaps the hotter Texas Rangers. With that, we welcome you inside the broadcast booth. Matt Vasgersian joined by Eric Karros in just a moment. This is the first of a doubleheader here in Oakland between the A's and the Angels. One of the first scheduled doubleheaders that baseball has seen in some time. We'll get to that in a moment. I welcome Eric Karros to the booth. And Eric, it would seem at first glance two teams within the same division moving in opposite directions here out of the break.
Well, you hit it right on the head. The Angels, they look like they're going to compete all the way to the end, and they're doing it because of their starting pitching. Dan Herron, and specifically today, Jared Weaver, who leads all of Major League Baseball at the lowest ERA. The A's, they've had good pitching. They've had real good pitching. Trevor Cahill takes them out today, but they just have not hit. In fact, in his last 3 starts, he's been given 0 runs of support.
Oakland trying to build on some momentum after a series opening victory yesterday. First of 2, we'll have it for you with Trevor Cahill on the mound. The 2010 All-Star has his hands full against a suddenly hot Angel lineup chasing the Rangers atop the division. Fox Saturday Baseball, A's and Angels lineups and the opening pitch coming up next.
Did we mess it up? Okay. I messed. Okay, ready? We'll do it over. Oh yeah. Oh, kid. Oh.
We messed that up.
Oh no, we didn't. Kid, did I?
28. Connor Jackson.
Gio Gonzalez wearing a microphone for us this afternoon. We'll see what kind of fun that leads to. The opening pitch is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds on an overcast afternoon for baseball in the Bay Area. Welcome back to Oakland with Eric Karros, Matt Vasgersian, all set for baseball as Eric Aybar digs in against the right-hander Trevor Cahill. We'll run down the Angels starting lineup in just a moment. We are underway at the Coliseum. The switch hitter Eric Aybar leads it off. One of the speed threats atop Mike Scioscia's lineup card. The Angels open this afternoon, this doubleheader today, playing very good baseball in the AL West, as you saw a moment ago when we ran down the standings board. Trevor Cahill going to try to keep him cool for a second straight game, making his 21st start of the year today, Eric.
He started off extremely well, 6-0 to begin the season, and then ran into a bit of a lull, but just hasn't had a lot of run support.
Eric Ibar reaches on a leadoff single. The Angels have their leadoff hitter aboard as we check the rest of the Angels' Taco Bell starting lineup. Taco Bell, think outside the bunt. 4-time All-Star Torrey Hunter, 2-time All-Star Bobby Abreu, 3-time All-Star Vernon Wells bat next. Switch hitter Alberto Callaspo at third base, batting number 5. Howie Kendrick, a first-time All-Star in 2011. He hit 6th. Mark Trumbo, Jeff Mathis, and Mike Trout, a younger bottom third for sure, round things out for the Angels. Here's Torrey Hunter now batting with the leadoff hitter aboard, and Trevor Cahill pours in strike 1. Torrey at 247. Some of the numbers down as compared to where we're used to seeing them. He still does lead the Angels in runs batted in with 45. You know, as much as the A's and Angels are separated by a double-digit margin in the AL West, I think folks that have watched these two teams play, Eric, will concede a couple of things they have in common. Each has been offensively challenged, Oakland more so than the Angels for sure, and both teams have pitched very well throughout the first months of the season.
I don't think there's any question about that. The Angels, though, have shown a bit more power, and they've been able to get on base. They have the ability to steal bases. And when you compare that to the A's offense, the A's just haven't been able to do anything well offensively.
Ibar runs. Hunter rolls over a ground ball to the shortstop, Chad Pennington, who throws to first for the out there. Ibar never stopped running, but did not slide off the bag. Third base umpire Dan Iasonia pointing down as if he were to ring him out. However, he was indicating that Ibar stayed hooked to the corner of the bag as Eric Ibar advances on a ground ball to short.
Batting in the third position, designated hitter.
Well, you watch Pennington, he never even looks, and that's where the A's get into trouble. Never even takes a glance at Eric Ibar, who just runs, kind of lawn darts himself into third base. Now watch, you see he's going all the way. Pennington never even thinks about him. I'm not sure what that slide was. Look at the top of the left shoulder. Watch this. Look at this. That looks like a lawn dart. Watch this. Oh! Wow, looks like he was out there too.
Boy, it did look as though he might have come off the bag for a moment. So the A's play the infield in as we take another look at the back of the play.
And you watch, Sizemore will hold the tag right. That's off the base.
Well, that's another controversial call in this series that Dan Iasonia has been a part of as Bobby Abreu waves and misses. A ball and a strike. We'll show you what happened last night in the series opener in just a bit. First, it's a chance for Abreu to put the Angels on top while many folks are still settling into their seats here this afternoon. Two balls and a strike to the Angels' designated hitter today, Bobby Abreu.
Well, and just to show you what the managers think about this ball game, the Oakland A's have their infield in the first inning. You know, that's telling you right there that there's not a lot of scoring expected. For Bob Melvin thinking, look, we go against Jared Weaver. Runs are going to be at a premium.
Vernon Wells waiting on deck. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The count to Bobby Abreu. 1-0 Angels. A leadoff base hit and a base runner taking an extra bag on a ground ball to short, and then an RBI single, and Jared Weaver has himself a run before he even gets to work this afternoon. 1 out, 1 in, 1 on now for Vernon Wells. Well, we don't even have a chance to build the portfolio of Trevor Cahill before he is pitching from a deficit here as Vernon Wells takes a pitch for a strike. Trevor Cahill last started on July 10th. And that was the Saturday before the All-Star game, the Sunday rather before the All-Star game in Arlington. Threw the ball extremely well. Abreu runs. Suzuki's throw down to second is in plenty of time to get him.
Well, Suzuki does a nice job of getting rid of the ball. Weeks applies the tag. That's something that this Angel Ball Club, you know, they historically like to run, but this year they've been doing it at about a success rate a little over 70%, which really is not that good. Been thrown out more than any team in baseball.
Well, since he made his debut in June of 2007, there have only been 2 other catchers on the entire landscape that have played more at that position. And part of that is what Bob Melvin and the A's may attribute to what's been a down year for Kurt at the plate. We'll talk about that as we get going. There's ball 4 to Vernon Wells. While we have a moment, let's take a look at Oakland's defense. It's Matsui, Crisp, and DeJesus in the outfield. More on Hideki Matsui out there in just a moment. Scott Sizemore came from Detroit in a trade a month or so ago. He's played well. Pennington, Weeks, and Jackson with him. And it's Kurt Suzuki receiving Trevor Cahill on the mound. Switch hitter Alberto Callaspo now with a 2-out opportunity. Wells at first and a run in for the Angels early on. Alberto Callaspo starting play at 281 as he celebrates a year anniversary of sorts as an Angel. He was acquired by the Angels just prior to the trading deadline last year from Kansas City. And that's going to be something of a theme not only today, Eric, but over the next coming days in baseball as we approach the next big milestone on the calendar, and that's the non-waiver trading deadline at the end of the month.
Well, you'd have to expect the Angels to be involved. You know, they're a team that, you know, they're right on the cusp, but they're probably short a hitter. At least right now, they look short a hitter if they're going to make any kind of move to the postseason, let alone if they get to the postseason.
Meanwhile, 7 straight balls from Trevor Cahill. Mike Scioscia is among the many who would certainly welcome any activity that the front office cares to create for him on the roster. Back-to-back 4-pitch walks by Trevor Cahill here. He's already matched his walk total from 7 2/3 last time around. You know, this gets us into something you and I were visiting about before we started here, Eric, and this is the first start out of the break for Trevor Cahill. And, you know, you look around the league and you see guys responding differently, coming away from being outside the field for 3 days, you know, being out of their routine as often as they have.
Well, you just hit it right on the head. The routine, and whether that's coming to the field, getting some running in, going through a throwing session. You know, one of those, I'm going to do it while I'm at home. I'll have my wife catch. Not going to fly.
Howie Kendrick, the batter now. 9 straight balls from Trevor Cahill. One and one.
You talk about guys being in their routine and struggles afterward. Probably the best or most dominant pitcher in all of baseball, Justin Verlander of the Detroit Tigers. He had a start the other night and was not Justin Verlander-esque. Struggled.
2 balls and a strike to a player who enjoyed his first All-Star game experience on Tuesday in Phoenix. And for Howie Kendrick, it was even more special, given he lives in the offseason in the Valley. Both runners go. Suzuki's throw to third not in time, and Mike Scioscia coming right after it here in the first inning. A 2-out double steal. That gives Howie Kendrick a chance to make it a 3-0 ball game here.
Both guys moving right there. If I'm pitching right now, I'm putting Kendrick down at first base. I'm not even messing around. This guy is a guy that's able to put the bat on the ball,
Don't throw him a strike. Go after Trumbo with the bases loaded. More of a free swinger.
And the 3-1 home. The breaking ball's in for a strike. I think Howie Kendrick may have been thinking the same way you were there.
Well, he went after him with a breaking ball, and it got to believe another off speed. But I lay the percentages. I'd go after the young guy Trumbo with the bases loaded rather than Kendrick.
Here is the payoff pitch, and Kendrick checks his swing on ball 4. 3 straight 2-out walks have loaded the bases with already 1 run in. And now pitching coach Ron Romanik's going to come out for an early visit with Trevor Cahill.
And those pitches are awful close, and I'm sure that's what Trevor Cahill is upset about. Outside of that 4-pitch walk to Callaspo, he's had some pitches that could have gone either way.
Batting in the 7th position, first baseman, number 44, Mark Trumbo.
So now Mark Trumbo.
Look at this last pitch, man. I mean, it might be off by a bit, and you see Suzuki bring it back. So the right call by Dale Scott, but if you're a pitcher, you want those.
Big opportunity for the Angels here in the first as Mark Trumbo takes strike 1. Trumbo has had a fine rookie season as he's got Wells, Callaspo, and Kendrick aboard with 2 gone. 17 home runs for the rookie first baseman. That leads all American League rookies. Leads all big league rookies at the start of play. Trumbo, the 7th batter to face Cahill here in this opening inning. Two balls and a strike. It'd be pretty easy to say that Trevor Cahill doesn't look comfortable out there.
It's funny. I was just going to say that, but I'm thinking, what? I'm not going to say that.
Well, that was.
But he doesn't.
That was the disclaimer. I mean, it'd be easy to say that, noting that the bases are loaded and he's already down a run. And that pitch comes over to catch the corner. It's 2-2 now.
But you're right, though. Nothing looks smooth. Nothing looks fluid. Seems like he's laboring for every pitch.
It has been a 30-pitch inning by Suzuki, but he's a strike away from getting out of it with only a run. And he does. How about that? 5 of the 7 hitters reach base against him, and the Angels score 1 run. Time for Jared Weaver to go to work on top 1-zip. If you're an A's fan, you're saying it could have been a lot worse. And if you're an A's fan, you're paying attention to their Taco Bell batting order this afternoon against Jared Weaver. Jemile Weeks and Coco Crisp, a couple of exciting switch hitters, lead it off. Josh Willingham, 8 of 16 since coming off the DL, bats number 3. Matsui, Sizemore, and DeJesus, 4 through 6. Connor Jackson, Kurt Suzuki, and the switch hitting shortstop Cliff Pennington rounded out for the A's. All-star starter Jared Weaver making his 20th opening assignment of the season. He is your Major League ERA leader, Eric, at 1.86.
I mean, you look at the opponent's batting average against 194. Just real deceptive. Steps across his body and then comes back and throws across his body. Just tough to pick up as a hitter.
Weaver last started the Thursday before the break and authored his 4th complete game of the season. He was brilliant, completely shutting down the Seattle Mariners. He has Weeks swing through. So the changeup puts Weaver on top, 0-2 to begin his afternoon. Jared, familiar with this ballpark, certainly familiar with the A's lineup. Hasn't always translated into success, but his most recent outing against Oakland resulted in a 4-1 Angels win back in May. You can take a look at the company he's in terms of ERA leaders in baseball this year. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Jemile Weeks.
Weaver's sort of had just stretches this year where he started off extremely well and he went through a lull where he couldn't win a game. In his last 9 starts, he's 5-0.
And a full count now. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Coco Crisp waiting next. Oakland took the series opener yesterday as the A's benefited from some rare big offense a night ago. And there's ball 4. Jared Weaver's strikeout to walk ratio this year, Eric, has been 4-1. He's been around the plate, to put it mildly, all year long. It's rare for him to walk batters, in particular the first batter of the ball game.
Well, you mentioned it. He doesn't walk batters in this Oakland A ball club, which is atypical for an A ball club. They don't walk.
See Alberto Callaspo tucked in at third base now for Coco Crisp, the switch hitter in from the left side of the plate. Weeks aboard with good speed as Crisp takes a strike. Coco has seen more of Jared Weaver than any other A outside of Kurt Suzuki. 6 for 24 in lifetime meetings against the Angels ace. Weeks stays put as Weaver misses down and in, a ball and a strike. Jared Weaver, 28 years old. And as we mentioned, of course, and as you watched in Phoenix on Tuesday night, starting the All-Star game for the American League. This is Jared's 6th year in the big leagues. And when you combine those factors, the service time and the age, he gets at a point where, according to a lot of pitching people, this is when the light's supposed to go on. You can take a look at how stingy he's been in allowing home runs this year, only 5 in all of 2011. Weeks looks like he wants to go. He stays put. Crisp offers and misses at the bunt attempt. But I can recall when the Oakland A's were on their great World Series runs in the late 80s, the guys that anchored that staff, Dave Stewart and Bob Welch, used to speak regularly of that maturation process. A handful of years in the big leagues already, reach your late 20s. Those are the years you're supposed to be dominant, and that's exactly where Jared Weaver is in his career now.
Well, I think what you're talking about is a maturation process and realizing what it means to go out and pitch. You see Weave right there. You know, he's not just out there throwing. Doesn't have to strike everybody out. Looks at certain situations. And just the evidence of the keeping the ball in the ballpark. It's a nice job by Mathis there to keep the ball in front.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Coco Crisp.
Watch just get his body down. And that situation as a catcher, you're not trying to catch the ball or even basically glove it. You're just trying to let it hit your body and deaden it in front of the plate and keep the runner from advancing.
Leadoff hitter aboard in the Oakland first. Josh Willingham next. A's trying to get that early run back quickly. Coco Crisp has had big games already this year at the Angels' expense, as you can see there, over 400 in the season series so far. And another pitch in the dirt. I mean, it's early on. We're talking about a small sample size of pitches here, Eric, but Trevor Cahill not looking like Trevor Cahill early, and here we are just 2 at-bats into the game. Again, far too early to make that kind of statement for Jared Weaver, but not off to an automatic start just yet. See if Weeks runs on 3-2 with nobody out. Weaver thinking he might. Very close at first.
Well, I don't think the A's can wait around. They've got to have Weeks running, create some motion out in the infield. Team that doesn't slug well, has trouble getting on base.
And there goes Weeks. Crisp swings and misses. Mathis's throw skips away and into center field. Weeks unable to advance any farther, however. And something that's been an ongoing problem for the Angels this year. The opposition stealing bases. Weeks in scoring position now with 1 gone.
Well, and that's one of the things with Mathis and the other catcher, Conger. You see Weeks gets a good jump. But their inability to throw runners out, they're there because of their defense. You know, neither one of the catchers have hit the ball at all.
Well, that's the team number for Jeff Mathis. He is throwing out less than 15% of opposing would-be thieves. Here's Josh Willingham now with the chance to plate that early run. Willingham socked a 3-run home run yesterday.
Tried to get Jemile Weeks, and they got him last night. Dan Herron picked him off at second base. See Willingham, he's the power guy. Hit a ball in the second deck last night off of Dan Herron. 2-0 pitch.
Big swing and a miss. Willingham has had a problem staying healthy this year, but that's really been the only knock on his game in his first year in the American League. Came off the 15-day DL July 7th and has started every game since. He's 8 of his last 16. On the corner to put him behind. Let's take you back to last night. And this is a part of the ballpark, Eric, as you know, having played a season with the A's, where you don't see a whole lot of home run balls. That's up where Tony Armas used to launch it in the early 80s.
Tony Armas. Yeah, he absolutely crushed that ball. He knew it. Dan Herron knew he got it.
First regular season home run ball hit into the top tank, that upper tank in left, since 2006. A ball and 2 strikes to Josh Willingham. There's been so much said about the A's inability to plate runs as you look at the combatants from last night. And Willingham pops it up. That's way up. One of those old Dave Kingman pop-ups into center. Mike Trout's got it, and there are 2 away. You know, folks that have watched baseball here for a long time know, Eric, that this is a dual sport facility. There's plenty of foul ground here to accommodate the Raiders, and it makes it a little friendlier if you're a pitcher.
Yeah, real tough place to hit. I mean, really the only place prior to some renovation that was close to this was Dodger Stadium. And Dodger Stadium historically had always been a pitcher's park. This place, ball doesn't carry very well. You've got the tremendous foul territory. Just as a hitter, not the place you want to come up as a young guy, and really if you're a free agent, not really the place you want to sign.
Might be something that Hideki Matsui's telling himself, sitting on 499 career home runs, and those are numbers that are comprehensive. They include his decorated years in Japan and his years here stateside. And he's going to stay on 499 as he grounds to Trumbo to retire the side. Nothing comes of the leadoff walk and stolen base. 1-0 Angels. By Taco Bell, think outside the bun. By DirecTV. Back from the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, and a 1-0 Angels lead after an inning of baseball with Eric Karros, Matt Vasgersian. Trevor Cahill returns to work. And here in the top half of the second, he'll get the catcher Jeff Mathis, followed by Mike Trout, and then the Angels leadoff man Eric Ibar. Angels scoring that first inning run after a leadoff single, a two-base advance on a ground ball to short, and an RBI single. One ball and one strike to count to Jeff Mathis. Trevor Cahill in his third year with the Oakland A's, an all-star in his sophomore campaign. Starting play here this afternoon at 8-7. And really, Eric, with a line drawn in his first half, in between his first 10 and his remaining starts. Very good in the first 2 months, and then had some trouble in the month of June.
Well, he really did. He started off 6-0 and looked like he was going to be headed to Arizona, be an all-star representative, but then things just went south for him. It hasn't been all him. Bottom line, sure, has he pitched as well? No, but we mentioned before, his last 3 starts, 0 runs of support. And what that does, if you're pitching, you feel like every single pitch you make has to be a perfect pitch. Because you give up a run, you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Mathis pops it into foul territory as Connor Jackson drifts over to put it away. Time to take a look now at today's 4 keys to the game.
Well, for the Angels, it's the situational hitting. Prior to about a month before the break, they were just anemic. Mickey Hatcher and the boys, the Angel dugout started getting it going. That's when they went on that winning streak. And the A's, it goes without saying, you got to support your pitcher. You've got to score some runs. I don't think anybody anticipated this A's offense to struggle like it has this year. See Bob Melvin, but specifically Cahill. Just nothing. No help.
A strike taken by young Mike Trout to put him behind 0-2. Boy, youth certainly served in this matchup as the 23-year-old starter faces the 19-year-old rookie outfielder, about whom the Angels are quite excited. And Mike didn't stick around long enough in that plate appearance for us to talk him up, but plenty on Mike Trout as we continue today.
Yeah, Mike Trout, a lot of physical tools. Bottom line is he needs to gain experience, and 19 years old in the big leagues.
2 quick outs here in the top of the second. Back to the top of the order now, and the switch hitting shortstop Eric Ibar. Thought it was interesting when you and I visited with Mike Scioscia before the game today. And this is the time of year when the flavor of the day questions from the clowns in the media like you and I always go to, so are there going to be any deals, Hair Skipper? What do you got coming on board, right? With Tony Regan's, who's he talking to? What can we talk about here? And
are you getting on me because I asked that?
No, I mean, we were both involved.
Okay, all right. Okay.
We're both guilty.
Okay.
But I thought that Mike's answer was interesting in that he said, what help we have is going to be on the roster. It's going to be internal. Vernon Wells starting to swing the bat. Torrey Hunter starting to swing the bat. They have had more contributions in the last month from their veteran guys than they did in April and May. And that's encouraged Mike and encouraged the club.
Well, and that's also allows him to say we can do things internally because they've had some success.
Now that's the Trevor Cahill that the A's are used to watching throw the baseball. A quick 1-2-3 second. Budweiser, great times are waiting. Grab some Bud. Scott Sizemore leads off the Oakland half of the second. Sizemore, DeJesus, and Jackson against Jared Weaver. Angels on top 1-0. Los Angeles scoring in the top half of the first, as Scott Sizemore takes a strike on the corner. Jared Weaver walked the leadoff hitter. That was Jamile Weeks. And then a stolen base, but Weaver responded by retiring Crisp, Willingham, and Matsui without incident, keeping his modest 1-0 lead in tow early. Still the ball and 2 strikes to Scott Sizemore. And you have really got to spray a ball foul to get it out of playing territory. It's kind of a function of what we were talking about earlier regarding this ballpark. And a called strike 3. Time for a DirecTV game break, and we take it to Rogers Center in Toronto for this one. CC Sabathia, who's been lights out in the afternoon this year in the 8th, gets JP Arancibia swinging for his 8th punch out of the game. In the 9th, 2 on, 2 out, Travis Snyder grounds out to end it. Sabathia wins it, Rivera saves it, and that's exactly how they like to draw him up in the Bronx.
What is that? Is that 14? It's got to be close to 14 wins, isn't it?
14
wins
for the big fella, yeah. CC Sabathia, Northern California native from Vallejo, grew up a big Oakland A's fan and now plying his craft in Yankee pinstripes. New York just a game back of the Red Sox as a result of their afternoon victory today. Boston in action as we speak in St. Pete. 0-2 the count to David DeJesus. CC Sabathia is unbelievable in the afternoon. Jared Weaver's pretty good in the daytime too, by the way. 2 strikeouts here to open the second.
I mean, Weave having a real comfortable inning. We talked about after the first inning, neither starting pitcher really looked that smooth, but Cahill in the top half of the second, 3 up, 3 down, and right now Jared Weaver thrown 8 pitches, only 1 ball so far this inning.
Cheer up, Sleepy Gene. 2.54 in the afternoon. That's one of the lowest daytime ERAs in the last 60-plus years in Major League Baseball.
Shoot, he ought to go play for the Cubs, huh? Daytime games.
I didn't think of that.
Well, you know who plays the second most afternoon games, or who used to do it all the time? This ball club right here in Oakland.
Behind the Cubs?
Second behind the Cubs. Yeah, I found that out after playing for the Cubs and then following it up with Oakland the next year.
Strike to Connor Jackson, one that's not sitting well with the fans, and it puts him behind the ball and 2 strikes. Two gone, bases empty, 1-0 Angels, bottom of the first. Now, for so long, the A's used to have the midweek getaway day game afternoon affairs. They play afternoon games on Saturdays and Sundays, whereas much of the league plays at night on Saturday. It's going to be a long day for baseball here. This is the first of 2. We'll talk about the doubleheader as we return to Oakland after a word from your local Fox station. It had nothing to do with a rainout or a weather cancellation. The first in baseball since 2003. First home DH scheduled for the A's in the better part of 15 years. And for the Angels, their first scheduled doubleheader since 1978. September 9th was the date that year when Don Ossie defeated Rich Gale in the first game of the doubleheader. Torrey Hunter leads things off in the Angels half of the third. 1-0 Angels. Our score early on, back with Eric Karros, Matt Vasgersian. Angels getting to Trevor Cahill for an early run. And both right-handers resurrecting or righting the ship, rather, in the second inning today. 3 balls and a strike to count to Torrey Hunter. Hunter, Abreu, and Wells here in the third, and it's a full count now.
And you mentioned those 3. Those are really the 3 offensively that are going to have productive second halves if the Angels expect to contend and catch the Rangers.
And there is ball 4. Already the 4th walk this afternoon issued by Trevor Cahill. You know, the big thing I think that the Angels are going to run up against here, it has nothing to do with anything that Mike Scioscia can control necessarily. It's that the Texas Rangers are threatening to become this runaway AL West locomotive that nobody's ever going to catch. They are red hot right now, playing in Seattle again tonight and trying to run a winning streak, rather, into double digits.
Yeah, Ron Washington, manager of the Rangers, has those guys playing well. Everybody is healthy. Their pitching staff is starting to really come into formation, especially the starting group. Derek Holland threw a great game the other night, a young lefty.
Colby Lewis pitches a shutout yesterday. The Rangers have really turned it on in the month of July. This is historically the part of the year where the dog days of summer start to wear the Rangers down, but that has not been the case the last couple of years as that pitch has bounced foul.
Well, I was talking to Wash at the All-Star break, and he had mentioned that that's when they've got to take advantage of teams, because teams will come in and because of the hot weather, they'll rest a guy here, rest a guy there. They're not acclimated to playing a game in that situation. And he said, look, this is our place to play. We know how to play in this weather. We should use it to our advantage.
Two balls and a strike to count to Bobby Abreu. The flip side to that is it's where, if in fact you hear about the jet stream in right center in Arlington and about how guys love to hit there in the summertime, it should work to the opposite degree on the staff. And that's where the Rangers have been so particularly good the last month. Starting staff, as you said in particular, has been great. That's wrapped to the right side. Jackson to second base for 1. No relay from Pennington. Abreu reaches on a fielder's choice, and there's 1 out on the play.
Connor Jackson does a nice job of getting off the bag and then making a good throw to the shortstop, making sure of 1. So he ranges off, makes sure he gets it, and makes a good throw. A lot of times guys will try to hurry it, think they're going to get a double play. In this situation, just make sure 1 out. I remember Oral Hershiser, pitcher for the Dodgers, used to always tell me, just make the routine play in the first couple innings. Don't try to make the great play.
Vernon Wells with a drive into the left field corner. Hideki Matsui out there to make a sliding grab. Hey! Not a guy you look to for a Gold Glove caliber play defensively, but he sure turned in a beauty on this ball.
Well, Bob Melvin told us before the game that he's not that bad out in the outfield, that he didn't feel like he was losing much at all by putting Matsui out there. And then Matsui always, no matter what he does, is always as prepared as any player he's been around. It's a heck of a grab right there.
So 2 gone now for Alberto Callaspo. Well, it doesn't happen very often that Hideki Matsui comes to the ballpark these days as something other than the DH. Just his 9th game in the outfield this year. It's got to make you feel good when you're the manager, right? You roll the dice a little bit when you change things that way, and then Matsui comes up with a good play for you.
Well, you know, I think what Bob Melvin has done since he's taken over is he's tried to create some stability in this ball club, and specifically with the batting order, the lineup, the guys playing every day. You hate to come to the park thinking that day's performance was going to dictate where you were going to be the following day, whether it was on the bench or batting at a different spot in the order.
Abreu off first with 2 gone. The 1-1 home to Callaspo, a ball and 2 strikes now. I guess you could say that for an American League team like the A's, who are offensively challenged with a DH, the recently completed interleague play portion of the schedule gave Bob Melvin a chance to figure out what he had out there on a night when he had to use Matsui in the outfield, as he did on the road in the NL.
Well, I think, too, you put Willingham at third in the order, Matsui 4th. Just say, hey, these are my guys. You're going to play some outfield. Again, as a player, you appreciate that.
Two balls and 2 strikes, the count to Alberto Callaspo. And a full count. Howie Kendrick next for the Angels. Trevor Cahill's already walked 4 this afternoon. He threw 30 pitches in the first inning alone. And bear in mind, there's another ball game coming up today. Goes Abreu, and there is ball 4 to Callaspo.
Well, you talk about there being another ball game. It's one of the reasons Bob Melvin chose to start Trevor Cahill in the first ball game. You know, one, to keep him on his routine as far as coming and getting ready for a game, but most of all, he thought that Cahill would be able to give him some innings and rest that bullpen a bit. So at least he had that option to go to in the second game. But right now, you know, with the pitch count the way it is, I'm not sure how long he goes.
So here's Howie Kendrick now. 5 walks for the afternoon for Trevor Cahill. That ties a season high, and we're only in the 3rd. Well, yesterday, Oakland en route to a victory had a pitching box score that looked like it could have come from the losing team, because Bob Melvin had to go to his bullpen frequently yesterday. Part of that was because of matchups. He wanted the right guys in there to match up the way he wanted. Part of it was due to injury. A big swing and a miss, 0-2. But altogether yesterday, Oakland had to use 7 pitchers. And that was even with Brandon McCarthy throwing the ball well as a starter. Dan Herron was good for the Angels a night ago, but tagged with his 6th loss of the year. Still 0-2 to Howie Kendrick. You know, just to finish that doubleheader story too, Eric, you know, we should let people know that the A's and Angels actually voted as teams to play the doubleheader today. And part of the motivation was they wanted the extra day off coming out of the All-Star break on Thursday, and that was the deal that they had to strike with the schedule makers.
Well, then the Angels, Mike Scioscia telling us that they're off Monday, so it really doesn't mess around with their pitching. Guys will be able to throw on normal day rest. not getting backlogged. But again, where you do run into trouble is if you have to go to your bullpen.
Ball and 2 strikes to Howie Kendrick. Abreu and Callaspo aboard. Called strike 3. 5 walks, but 4 punch-outs for Trevor Cahill through 3. He and the A's still trail 1-zip. In half of the third, Suzuki, Pennington, and Weeks for the A's, trailing Jared Weaver and the Angels 1-0 Los Angeles early on. Back with Eric Karros, Matt Vasgersian. Kurt Suzuki 2 for 3 yesterday in Oakland's win in Game 1 of this series. Some of the numbers for Kurt, however, are below what those may have expected, building on what had been back-to-back great years offensively, hitting only .230 at the start of play today. 7 home runs, 22 runs batted in. This was the A's RBI leader a year ago. Swing and a drive, and he got every stitch of that ball. If it's fair, it's gone. It is a foul ball.
He gets a fastball up and in, just continues to run in. See Mathis move his target, just can't keep it fair. Guessing here comes the slider low and away right now.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Kurt Suzuki. As we showed you earlier, Jared Weaver's yielded only 5 home run balls all year as Howie Kendrick flags that one down. Looked like it was ticketed for right field. And there's 1 gone in the home third.
Well, Suzuki does a nice job. He gets the slider low and away and drives it. It's the beauty of hitting, though. You do everything right and get nothing for it. And he's looking for that off speed. You see Weave goes away and shoots it out there. Howie Kendrick, a nice catch.
One gone now for Cliff Pennington. Cliff at 236 to start the afternoon. former first rounder. 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, Pennington has not necessarily enjoyed his previous meetings against Jared Weaver, just 3 of 24 against the Angel right-hander. It's a tough matchup for right-handers, left-handers, and switch hitters, the likes of Cliff Pennington.
Well, you talk about Weaver, he has good stuff. And then you mix that in with his delivery, where, as I mentioned before, his body goes towards the third base side, and then his arm comes back across his body towards the first base side. Just tough to pick up.
That's rolled out to first for Mark Trumbo. 2 quick outs. Fox tonight, an all-new special examines chilling near-death experiences played out right before your eyes. Then we break it down to find out how they survived. The Indestructibles. An all-new special tonight at 9/8 Central on Fox. 2 gone, bases empty now for Jemile Weeks, who in walking to start the home first was the only Oakland base runner the first time through the lineup against Jared Weaver. Well, Jemile was down in Phoenix for the All-Star game on Tuesday, spending time with his All-Star big brother Ricky of the Milwaukee Brewers. The Weeks brothers, and both as of last month in the big leagues. I don't know that Jemile is going to translate for the kind of power that his big brother has, but maybe someday. For now, it's a little flare out to shallow center, handled by Mike Trout, and back-to-back 1, 2, 3 innings for Jared Weaver. He has retired 9 in a row. He is sponsored by Ford, Drive One, and by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Little overcast this afternoon in the East Bay. Welcome back to the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, a place they used to call the home of champions. When the A's and Raiders were as good as they were back in the day. They haven't said that of late around here. Mark Trumbo on the first pitch, slices it at Connor Jackson, who knocks it down and gets it to Cahill in time for the out. Wow.
Well, Connor Jackson again makes a nice play at first base, just getting in front of it, knocking it down. Because it is hit so hard, he still has time to go after it. Cahill, excellent job of getting over to first base. A lot of pitchers, they just watch the first baseman make that play, and then when it bounces off their glove, they're standing there going, oh, geez, you should have made it. Cahill, he never stops, gets over there, able to get Trumbo at first.
Well, that ball kicked so far away from Connor Jackson, I didn't think he'd be able to make it close, let alone get the out at the bag, which he did so nicely. One away now for Jeff Mathis. Mathis popped into foul territory behind first back in his first plate appearance today. Hitting a .197 on the year. And I guess when one goes through the Angels lineup and tries to assign relative blame and or credit on any particular night, it's easy to point to a guy who's under the Mendoza line, as Mathis is. Unfortunately, or fortunately,
well, yeah,
that's his career number. He is around a 200 lifetime hitter.
But the problem is it becomes magnified when other guys in the lineup aren't doing what people expect them to do. Then you say, oh, it's Jeff Mathis, and oh, we've got to get more production. You know, the reality is you could hide his bat when other guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing. But when other guys are having subpar years, then an average under 200 really stands out.
Trevor Cahill's been a bit more efficient since the 31 pitch first. Even with Jeff Mathis, here's the 2-2. Got him looking. 5 punch outs for Trevor Cahill. So with 2 gone and the base is empty, it'll be the rookie center fielder Mike Trout. Let's get to know the 19-year-old outfielder.
After my first AB, I was a little jittery, but other than that, I feel good up here. And they definitely got some better stuff. You know, they pitch to your weakness, and you just got to make adjustments. I like to hunt and fish, play golf. I was a shortstop, and my favorite player growing up was Derek Jeter.
That's my favorite response. My favorite player growing up was Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter's still playing.
Yeah.
Kid was born in '91.
It is scary. I mean, to think what you were doing at 19 years of age, he's playing in the big leagues.
Yeah, I was playing him on PlayStation, playing in the big leagues. How about an 8-pitch inning for Trevor Cahill? Through 3.5, it's still 1-0 Angels. Coco Crisp leads things off in the Oakland fourth. Crisp, Willingham, and Matsui against Jared Weaver. 1-0 Angels in the middle innings this afternoon. Oakland tried to make it 2 in a row to open the second half of the season as Crisp sends a little number down to Trumbo for the first out. Hey, Budweiser is searching for the best crew of friends in America. Find out how to play and register your crew at bandofbuds.com.
Number 16, Josh Willingham.
One gone now for Josh Willingham. It was his 3-run home run yesterday that was the difference in Oakland's series opening victory. Josh flied out to center in his first try today. Just trying to get somebody on base against Jared Weaver.
Well, and you see that right there. 10 consecutive batters retired. Every hitter so far that he's faced today, he started off with strike one. You know, that's something as a pitcher that is huge. As a hitter, if you're down 0-1 as opposed to 1-0.
Well, as good as Weaver has been today and throughout the year, it would seem that Josh Willingham would be a guy that has a chance at having some success based only on this fact. Can't even tell the story and fouls out.
I want to hear why. I want to hear that fact.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for hanging with me on that one. He's got great numbers against all-star pitching this season. So if you take the guys that made the all-star team this year in the American League and you line up your batting average just against those guys, Josh Willingham's is one of the best in baseball. He's hitting .340 against all-star pitchers this year combined. So it seems that he reserves his best for the best. Here's Hideki Matsui now with 2 away. Of course, that's a thin point to make when he's 0 for 2.
There it is, the first ball, 1 to an Oakland A hitter.
Matsui grounded to first earlier and has made a very fine play in the corner in left field this afternoon.
What I like about Jared Weaver, too, as he's facing Matsui, he just gets the ball and is standing on the mound ready to throw. If you're an infielder playing behind him, you'd love that.
To shortstop. Ibar backhands and gets it over to first in plenty of time. A 9-pitch fourth by Jared Weaver. Still 1-0 Angels. Central is a story that we can't ignore on this afternoon in July. Who's in first place? The Pittsburgh Pirates have a share of the division lead in a tie with the St. Louis Cardinals. This is the latest into the season that the Pirates have had any portion of first place in the division since 1997. As Eric Ibar sends the first pitch in the air out to shortstop for Cliff Pennington. It has been a terrific story. A resurgent Bucks team, and yesterday Jeff Karstens threw a complete game, a 5-hit shutout on fewer than 85 pitches. He was a big part of the win, of course, over the Astros. That series continues tonight with Paul Maholm. And the Bucks, Eric Karros, are they for real, and can they stay in the hunt?
Well, they're for real right now because of where they're at. I think what's going to hinder them the rest of the way, you've got 3 ball clubs. You've got the Cardinals, the Brewers, and then, of course, the Cincinnati Reds. We saw the Milwaukee Brewers already make a deal the other day, going out and acquiring Francisco Rodriguez, K-Rod. I think those other ball clubs will also make moves to strengthen their team the rest of the way. I'm not so sure that the Pirates are going to go out and add pieces.
Well, they have certainly played a lot better than what they're given credit for every year. This we can admit, as Torrey Hunter lays off a pitch off the corner.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with Clint Hurdle and the environment that he creates, the atmosphere that he creates. And you talk to people that were around him last year in Texas, and just the positive attitude. I mean, they'll say that, you know, he was as big a part as anybody or any player in that Texas clubhouse last year.
Clint Hurdle with some pieces to play with there in Pittsburgh as well that have certainly give fans in that area cause for optimism. Andrew McCutchen, an all-star. Young players like Jose Tabata, Pedro Alvarez. And they haven't played themselves into all-star status yet, but it certainly is a nice story out there in the Steel City. That's something that Oakland is hoping can happen here. That's on the ground, sharply hit and well played by Scott Sizemore, a guy who has not played a lot of third base the last couple of years. 2 quick outs in the 5th.
Well, Sizemore, a second baseman with Detroit, he gets over there. What I like, though, he sets his feet and makes a good, strong throw. You know, a lot of times guys will just get over there and just try to throw it real quick, not set themselves. And while they may release it quicker, the throw doesn't have as much on it as when they're able to set and get their feet under them.
There's Bobby Abreu now with 2 gone. Not a whole lot on base in this one. In fact, 2 of the first 3 batters this afternoon reached via base hits. That was Ibar and Abreu. And since then, there has not been a base hit by either lineup.
Well, the Angels have had their base runners. So Trevor Cahill has had his struggles with control, 5 walks.
Little chopper out to first for Connor Jackson. 7 in a row retired by Trevor Cahill. Middle of the afternoon. And it's still 1-0 Angels. Sponsored by AT&T. Rethink possible. Jared Weaver back to work and on top 1-0 here in the bottom of the fifth. He'll get the 5, 6, 7 batters for Oakland. Scott Sizemore, David DeJesus, and Connor Jackson. And Scott Sizemore obliges on the first pitch. Last 5 outs, 12 pitches thrown by Jared Weaver. Hey, Fox Sports is proud to support Stand Up to Cancer in their work to fund groundbreaking research that helps accelerate treatment to patients. Stand up for someone you love. Visit standuptocancer.org/Fox Sports to learn more. First out comes on the first pitch here in the fifth, and now the left-handed hitting David DeJesus. We spoke earlier, Eric, of some of the offensive numbers coming down for the A's at various parts of their lineup card here. Kurt Suzuki with a down year so far. And it would be unfair not to include David DeJesus in that discussion, unfortunately for David.
Well, you know, the thing is, any ball club usually can swallow 1 or 2 guys not having their normal years. But when you're talking about 4, 5, and 6 guys all having subpar years.
There's a knock, the first of the afternoon for the Oakland A's. And wouldn't it stand to reason that David DeJesus, who's done some of his best work against the Angels over the years, is the guy that cashes in with a first base hit against Weaver this afternoon. A .342 career hitter against this uniform. And that's the highest all time. Puts him in the company of a couple of Hall of Famers. One that's certain to go 5 years after he retires, and a really good ball player during his day in Cookie Rojas. In fact, Cookie's son Victor handling play-by-play for the Angels on an everyday basis, and he'll be on the air with his partner Mark Gubazov for the Southern California audience for Game 2 of this doubleheader today. Here's Connor Jackson now. Jackson, a strikeout victim earlier today. Check that, popped out, popped to second earlier this afternoon. DeJesus aboard with 1 away. First time that Weaver's been out of the stretch since the first inning. Not that that matters when your ERA is 1.86.
Again, a nice job by Mathis, just blocking the ball again with his body. You watch this. He gets the glove down there, but he's not so worried about catching the ball. He's got the bare hand behind his back to protect himself from getting hit in the hand. Again, all you're trying to do is keep the ball in front of you. A lot of young catchers want to try to pick it with their glove. They get into trouble. They get lazy with their body.
Into foul territory. Trumbo hoping for a play. Man alive, that ball is 15 rows into the stands in every other big league ballpark.
Yeah, I was going to say that's in some restaurants in some other parks. And that's, you know, again, though, it's one thing as a hitter, it's frustrating, but as a visiting player coming into this ballpark, you have to recognize and not give up on balls. There's a lot of balls that normally you take the obligatory 2 or 3 hard steps and then you just watch them go into the stands in other parks. You do that here, you may be going over to pick up the ball after it's bounced on the ground and rolled around. Can't give up on anything here.
2 away now for Kurt Suzuki. Well, we talked to Bob Melvin today, and in our visit with the A's manager, we asked him about one of the first things he reportedly told his club when he took over the job, which was, hey guys, no more belly aching about the ballpark. This is where we play half of our games. let's harness this as an advantage. And instead of talking about how, oh, that ball would have been out in Baltimore, or that ball would have been out in Cincinnati, we're not playing in Baltimore or Cincinnati. We're playing here in Oakland. So while you hitters might lament the difficulty of hitting for power here, oh, and by the way, it didn't stop some pretty good hitting players from having success in this ballpark. But while you hitters may hate it, for every one of you guys that complains, there's two pitchers that loves the fact that there's a lot of foul territory here. You know, it all balances out in the wash.
Well, it doesn't balance out in the wash, because if you're a hitter getting paid to hit and you're a pitcher getting paid to pitch, I'll tell you what, that balance in that bank account looks a lot better if you're a pitcher for the A's than it does if you're a hitter.
Way to go, team guy. Way to go.
Well, it doesn't balance out. Don't let them kid you. I mean, that's, you know, as a team thing, you got to recognize, you know, what you have to play with. And what I mean by that is, look at this ballpark. It absolutely has to be built towards pitching, defense. You get one or two guys that can absolutely hit the ball a mile. You can't get those guys that hit 20 home runs a year and then bring them in here and expect them to hit, you know, 20. You got to get those guys that hit 40 and hope they hit 30.
That ball's fouled off in any ballpark.
But I'll be honest with you, there isn't a single pitcher that, while he may struggle and one of his teammates is hitting the ball real well, is going to say, well, you know, I'll take that trade-off. Or one hitter that is really struggling, but one of his pitchers is doing real well, you say, oh, yeah, that's okay. I can sleep at night.
2 balls and 2 strikes to count to Kurt Suzuki. Well, you didn't hear anybody complaining about it in the late 80s, early 90s when Carney Lansford was regularly in the 320s in this ballpark. You didn't hear Jason Giambi and Miguel Tejada complaining about it in the middle 90s when the A's were winning here. So
I'll go with you on the Carney Lansford thing, but, you know.
Okay, I understand. Say no more. Runner goes, a swing and a drive into the corner, and another loud foul ball into that spot off the bat of Kurt Suzuki. Boy, he is a half a second away from timing that out to keep it fair and sitting on a multiple home run game.
God, just the same sort of pitch. Mathis looking for an outside fastball. The thing tails back over the inner part of the plate. Now remember, last time Weaver followed it up with a slider away. This is a time where I'd almost double up. I'd try to trick him. What I mean by double up, I'd come in hard with the fastball. You see, that's what he did in the 3rd inning. And all that is a long strike.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Go in with the fastball. He went off speed right there. Again, going away.
Well, for a lineup that has not had a base runner past first this afternoon, this constitutes a rally. A man on with 2 away and a full count. Out of the stretch, the next 3-2 home is yanked into the corner. That's trouble. And a fair ball against the wall. Wells gets a convenient hop. They're going to try it with DeJesus. Throw to the plate is in plenty of time to get him. Oakland rolled the dice against the stingy Jared Weaver. Snake eyes. Still 1-0 Angels. for youth baseball across the country. And by Rise of the Planet of the Apes, August 5th, only in theaters. Angels continue to lead the A's 1-0 on just 4 base hits this afternoon combined. And Oakland with its first real opportunity to score in the last half inning. And that attempt negated by a clean play at the plate, and David DeJesus being thrown out by 4 steps. Vernon Wells leads things off in the visitors' 6th. Wells, Callaspo, and Kendrick. Big workload for Trevor Cahill this afternoon. He has walked 5, struck out 5. And the good news is that even though he was without his good control earlier, he trails by only a run.
He was able to make pitches when he needed to. As you mentioned, 5 walks. Only given up 1 run so far.
Here's the 3-1 home to Vernon Wells. That's sent into shallow center field and dumped in front of Coco Crisp for a base hit. Let's take folks back, Eric, to the play that ended the last half inning.
Well, you watch. Suzuki hits this ball hard. Vernon Wells gets a nice hop. And what's more impressive, he's able to make a strong chest-high throw to the shortstop, who turns and fires a chest-high throw home to Mathis. And you see, Gallego's sending him all the way, the third base coach, and you have to do it in that situation. You can't think that, hey, we're going to get another hit against Jared Weaver the way he's throwing today. It took 3 excellent fundamental plays. Catching it off the wall, getting it to the shortstop, throwing it home.
Walden, no strikes to Alberto Callaspo with the leadoff hitter aboard, and Cahill will check in on Wells. Yeah, I don't know. When something like that happens and a player's thrown out as easily as DeJesus was, I think your instinct as a fan, as a viewer, is to question something that may have gone wrong. Callaspo rattles that ball into the right field corner. Wells is being held at third, and the Angels are in business to open the 6th.
Now batting, number 47, Howie Kendrick.
So 2 runners in scoring position now for Howie Kendrick, who has walked and struck out today. And Oakland, as they did as early as the top of the 1st, will play the infield in.
It's almost they're in a halfway spot right here. And what they're thinking is with that is if they're halfway with nobody out, Mike Scioscia won't send Vernon Wells third base. Plus, it gives you a bit more range because a ball through the infield right now, that's 2 runs. It's a 3-0 ball game then.
The back-to-back hits allowed by Trevor Cahill here, the first hits he's allowed since the very first inning. But just to button up the thought on that play at the plate with DeJesus, you think, man, a guy gets thrown out by that big a margin, and either he hesitated on base or the third base coach hesitated and fouled him up. Neither of those things took place. That's going to bring in a run as Pennington's only play is to first. Vernon Wells off on contact, and he scores to make it a 2-0 Angels lead.
Well, see, and that's one manager trying to guess what the other manager will do. Bob Melvin thinking, if I've got him halfway, not only do I give myself the ability to have a bit more range, but I don't think Mike Scioscia is going to send him on contact with nobody out. Well, Mike Scioscia says, the heck with that. I'm sending him on contact. Vernon Wells gets a good jump. Would have been bang, bang. Probably the right play to get an out.
Here's Mark Trumbo now with a run in. Trumbo has struck out and grounded to first today. 17 home runs and 41 runs batted in. And in what could have been an otherwise troubling spot at first after Kendrys Morales went down again. Trumbo has really righted the ship, and Oakland has Cahill hung up. Already a couple too many throws. And now Pennington has a chance to just tag the runner out as Trumbo advanced to second behind the play.
Well, not real good base running there.
Now batting, number 5.
At second base. You see, he's going on. He's thinking that the ball's going to be through, or there won't be a play at third. You know, anything that's hit in front of you and you're on second base, you've got to freeze. Now, Trumbo doing a nice job of getting down to second base. So at least when an out is recorded, they're still in the same situation. The Angels have a runner in second. Although I'd argue Cahill is a lot faster than Trumbo.
So now Jeff Mathis with a runner in scoring position. Yeah, that play was hardly a candidate to be broken down on the Tom Amansky instructional drills video from either side. A ball and a strike to the Angels catcher. One and two. Trevor Cahill approaching his 100th pitch of the afternoon, and yes, we in the media do make a big deal about pitch count, but on an afternoon like this where Cahill's had to work so hard to keep the score close, it's a relevant point as he strikes out Jeff Mathis. One in the Angels' sixth. 2-0 Los Angeles. Off the Pepsi Max Field of Dreams promotion, where you and your friends could win a chance to play ball with Major League legends. Visit Pepsi Max Field of Dreams online to enter today. Remember, if you build it, they will come. They're talking about that here in Oakland in regards to a new stadium. Cliff Pennington leads things off in the home sixth. Pennington weaks and crisp against Jared Weaver, who has been as stingy as ever this afternoon. He has limited the ace to just a base on balls and 2 hits. Two balls and a strike to Pennington.
mentioned that new stadium, or the potential. Bud Selig's got that group that's looking into it. They've been doing that for a few years, that task force. Really, you talk to anybody in this Oakland A organization, and they'll tell you that they've got to have an opportunity to move this ball club to San Jose. And it makes a lot of sense in a lot of different ways, just to be able to compete. You're an old Oakland A fan.
You know, and I think that the landscape up here, the market, first of all, I think it's incorrect, it's inaccurate to refer to the Oakland A's as a, quote, small market team. They might be run that way, but they are not a small market team. San Francisco Bay Area is a top 5 market, as Pennington pops it into foul territory. You know, there was an article in the San Francisco Examiner not too long ago by the very respected sports columnist Glenn Dickey. He's very critical of the ownership group here with the A's, the current ownership group. And in so many words, and I'm paraphrasing, it discussed how the motivations are such that if the franchise just kind of disintegrates, then it would be easier for the agenda to be accomplished and for the team to be moved someplace. There hasn't been a lot put into this ballpark. There hasn't been a lot put into the payroll. I mean, this is a franchise with a terrific history, as we know. And it has stagnated under the current ownership group. Now, I'm not saying that that's a fair statement, but it was an article that certainly got the attention of a lot of people. In the interest of fairness to the ownership group, they had efforted a new ballpark here for some time, and they were met with a lot of political resistance, a lot of financial resistance. There's a former mayor of Oakland who wasn't exactly thrilled with the idea of accommodating the A's in a new ballpark. Jemiah Weeks is aboard on Oakland's 3rd hit of the afternoon. But I would agree with you to this degree that something needs to change.
Right.
Because after the Marlins move out of their current ballpark downtown, this will be the only major league ballpark that also sees NFL football. And listen, we've all seen what this field looks like in September and August. And whether it's, you know, Jamarcus Russell getting sacked for 18-yard losses at a time or whomever, it's tough to share a facility with an NFL team. It just isn't done anymore.
Well, and just looking down in the field right now, you can see the outlines of a soccer field. In this day and age, you just don't see the multi-purpose venues like you did in the past.
And a fly ball sliced into the opposite field for Vernon Wells. And there are 2 away. Next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, the Padres head to Philadelphia to take on the NL East leading Phils, or the Braves try to keep pace in the division as they battle Joey Votto and the Reds. Next week's telecast of Fox Saturday Baseball, presented by AT&T, starts at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. Check your local listings for the game and start time in your area. 2 good ones coming up next week. Reds have Bronson Arroyo tonight against Chris Carpenter and the Cardinals as that terrific rivalry continues in the NL Central. Pitch in the dirt, and Jemiah Weeks advances.
Well, Mathis again doing a nice job of keeping the ball out in front. This time, though, you've got the speedy Weeks who does a great job of reading. You see that secondary lead where he takes a few steps to get off of first base. When he recognizes the ball is low and is in the dirt, with his speed, he just takes off. Now watch, see, look at the secondary. He's off. Boom. Now, if he just stands and doesn't take a secondary, he doesn't give himself an opportunity to get the second. It's a nice job of base running by the youngster.
Oakland with a runner in scoring position for just the 3rd time this afternoon as Weaver misses the corner. 2 balls and no strikes.
The A's haven't scored a lot of runs this year, but they do have some guys that hit well with runners in scoring position. Josh Willingham coming into today hitting .333.
Right on the corner that time. 2-1.
Well, that's on the corner if you're Jared Weaver or the Angels. That's about 2 or 3 inches off if you're Josh Willingham. Not a pitch that you can offer at 2-0. Look at that. That's not good. That's not good if you're hit.
Hideki Matsui next with 2 gone. Weaver out of the stretch on 2 balls and a strike to Willingham. Well, Josh Willingham, who prior to this year had played his entire big league career in the NL East, has made himself something of a commodity this season, if only by virtue of his contractual arrangement. He signed just a 1-year deal to come to Oakland. And depending on how the next week or so goes down here with this club, could find his name involved in trade discussions at the end of the month if he hasn't already. And the 2-2 pitch to him. Full count now. From the Marlins to the Washington Nationals to the Oakland A's via free agency this offseason. The full count pitch. You were never dealt at the deadline, were you?
No, I was traded once in the offseason. My name came up quite a bit while I was with the Dodgers. But I was fortunate. I didn't. I was traded in the offseason, so you don't have the upheaval that, a lot of people forget about that. You've got your family, you've got everything set up, and then boom, you're thrust into another situation. You've got to find a place to live. You have real world issues.
And there's ball 4. The second base on balls today issued by Jared Weaver, and it puts runners at first and second with 2 gone, and Mike Butcher's going to come out for a quick visit from the Angels dugout. Well, Hideki Matsui is 4 of 16 in his career against Jared Weaver. Hitless against him today. And even as he approaches 40, still represents something of a fear factor in the Oakland lineup.
Well, he does, but the one difference now, Matsui, as opposed to a couple of years ago in his heyday with the Yankees, as an older player, you have to cheat a bit. When I say that, you got to guess on the fastball. You got to maybe get things going a little earlier. And what that does is that can make you look real bad on the off-speed stuff. Or you're looking off speed, you're thinking off speed, then boom, 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and you're swinging when the ball's in the catcher's glove.
Weaver starts him with a strike.
It's not just random guessing, it's educated guessing, but it's still guessing. You don't have the physical ability to just react as quickly as you once did.
Popped him up. Callaspo's under it, and Jared Weaver strands a pair in the 6th. On to the 7th with the score at 2-0 Angels. We'll return to Oakland after a word from your local Fox station. Presented by AT&T with Eric Karros, Matt Vasgersian. We're here for the first of doubleheader action between the A's and the Angels. One of the first regularly scheduled doubleheader games baseball has seen in quite some time. As we talked about earlier, another game on tap later today. Irvin Santana and Rich Harden. But on to the game at hand. Mike Trout leads things off in the 7th inning for the Angels. A game today, an opener that has been marked by not only good defense, but as the score would certainly indicate, two very strong starts by Trevor Cahill and Jared Weaver. A strike to young Mike Trout. Ball and 2 strikes to the rookie center fielder. Mike Trout likely headed back to AAA when Peter Borges returns off the disabled list. Something that did not come as a surprise to Mike, and something that's been discussed by the Angels. And I don't know that you'd even call this an audition, because he'll be here. This is just an early sneak preview, I suppose. It's out to center field. Coco Crisp with some help in the sun. And part of the reason Mike Trout's going to be here, Eric Karros, is because of his blazing speed. Let's take you back to a Cactus League affair. This was technically the end of the Cactus League season, March 29th. He beats out a ground ball to second. He got up the line in 3.5 seconds that night.
And that's from the right side, and that's a guy that goes about 6'2". That's not some little guy that, you know, is just poking the ball over the ballpark and running as fast as he can. You know, and physically, he's still going to mature. Still going to get bigger, put on some more weight. But Mike Scioscia told us he has a chance to be a real special player.
Swing and a drive by Eric Ibar. Well struck out to right, and that ball is gone. Number 7 for Eric Ibar. 3-0 Angels.
Like Eric Ibar has been known to run into a few. You mentioned that's his 7th home run. You make a mistake, especially if it's down and in, able to golf that ball, get it in the air. That was a no-doubter.
Torrey Hunter now. 3-0 Angels. And a lead even at 1-0 that seemed daunting with Jared Weaver staring at you on the mound. Tell you, this is becoming more an orchestrated thing, right?
Well, you got to practice that. You know, that's something I'm sure they must get together in the hotel rooms on the road, try and kill some time and practice their handshake, their dance move. That's just not spontaneous. That looks choreographed. Like to see Soch and batting coach Mickey Hatcher have a handshake, and can you imagine Soch doing some sort of move?
Doesn't strike me as a guy that's a big fan of that stuff. Your old teammate. Am I right on that?
He's not a big fan of that.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Torrey Hunter. Trevor Cahill well up over 100 pitches, as we talked about earlier. This potentially could have turned into a shorter start based on his command issues early. But he has battled to get into the 7th inning. Brian Fuentes is up in the bullpen, one of the 2 left-handers that Bob Melvin has at his disposal today.
Cahill's done a nice job navigating himself through this ball game so far. You know, again, it's got to be frustrating for him because, as I mentioned before, his previous 3 starts, 0 runs of support. And here we are. We're in the 7th inning, and the A's have notched a big old 0 for him up to this point.
Strikes out Torrey Hunter on a slider that he thought ended the inning, too. It looked like Trevor was on his way back into the home dugout.
Bobby Abreu.
One more piece of business, however, as he's up at 114 pitches. Here's Bobby Abreu now. Abreu has singled and reached on a fielder's choice, just 3 for 20 career against Trevor Cahill. And I think it's a pretty good bet to say that this would be Cahill's last batter should he retire Abreu here with 2 gone. Nothing in 2. Peeking ahead for Cahill and the A's after this series with the Angels comes to a close. They're on the road for 2 in Detroit and 3 in New York. So Trevor's next start comes at the always difficult confines of Yankee Stadium. And for a team that's really had its trouble on the road, it's going to be a challenging 5 days against the Tigers and Yanks.
Yeah, but you know, if you're Cahill, how's it getting any worse? You know, your team's not scoring at all. You're in one of those droughts where, you know, it just seems like offensively they're not going to do anything when you're out on the hill. That's got to play a part mentally.
And Abreu is caught looking. One more in the Angels' 7th, however, on the Ibar home run. Los Angeles leads it 3-0. In a better way forward. By Burger King, now offering $1 frozen drinks, and by One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of Major League Baseball. Jared Weaver and the Angels in control this afternoon in Oakland. Scott Sizemore, David DeJesus, and Connor Jackson here in the home 7th. Oakland running out of chances in the first of a doubleheader scheduled for the Coliseum today. Jared Weaver having limited the A's to just 3 base hits today. Singles by Jamal Weeks and David DeJesus, and a double by Kurt Suzuki. On the ground to the left side of the infield for Callaspo. Callaspo's had his defensive trouble the last couple of weeks, but no such difficulty there. Well, if you're joining us a little late, the story of the afternoon has been Jared Weaver. Just the 3 hits allowed. And the Angels struck for a run early, 1 in the first. Adding on in the 6th and in the 7th on the Eric Ibar home run. And that's where we stand here in the back third. 1 away for David DeJesus. You know, we were looking into the A's next couple of weeks before the break, Eric, and in fairness to the other side, and for the Angels, a little bit more on the line as they started play just 2.5 out of the division-leading Rangers. After this weekend, the Angels go back home for 3 with those Rangers. Should be a terrific series at the Big A. And then they end July on a monster, wicked road trip. 3 in Baltimore, 3 in Cleveland, 4 in Detroit without a day off. That's well hit into left center. Trout on the run. He looks up and plays it off the wall. DeJesus into second. A stand-up 1-out double here in the home 7th.
Well, DeJesus earlier with a single. This ball low just drives it to left center. Mike Trout going after it and then decides, you know what, I'm not going to get there. Plays it nicely off the wall. A darn good arm right there, too. Gets it in.
So here's Connor Jackson now. Jackson hitless in 2 tries today. And takes a breaking ball for a strike. Hitting just .242, couple of home runs. Limited power numbers for a player that's had to come all the way back from square one at one point in his career. It was under Bob Melvin a few years ago as a Diamondback that Connor Jackson posted his best major league season. And the thought at the time was, this is a developing young player that's on the verge of becoming a real star. The following season, Connor missed the entire year with a horrible case of valley fever. And it took him considerable time to rebuild his strength, his stamina, and his baseball skills. And by that time, he had moved on to the Oakland A's, where he finds himself, at the very least, with the opportunity to play every day. And his old manager from Phoenix now here in Oakland with him.
Well, he's going to get some at-bats here. And especially, coming upon the trading deadline, some other ball clubs might go after some A's players. And it just figures that Connor Jackson will at least have the opportunity to show that he can still be the player that people thought he would be a few years ago with the Diamondbacks.
Sliced into right and in front of Torrey Hunter. Runners at the corners. DeJesus was unable to advance past third, as it looked for a moment like there was a chance Hunter could make the play on that ball.
Well, it's a nice job by Torrey Hunter out in right field. Now you watch him come in and look at it. He puts his glove up just a little bit like, hey, it's coming to me. And as a base runner, you have to freeze. Now watch DeJesus. He can't just take off. He's just got to look and, okay, I know he's faking me. But it's not one of those ones where he can go at the break of the crack of the bat.
Kurt Suzuki has one of the A's 2 extra base hits against Jared Weaver this afternoon. For the first time today, we see that Angel bullpen get busy. This will be the 100th pitch of the start by Jared Weaver. Runners at the corners with 1 gone. Taking nothing away from DeJesus, who doubled. The 2 hardest hit balls by an A today have been by Kurt Suzuki. The bad news for Oakland is they've both been hit foul.
Now you've seen the ball well off of Jared Weaver. Both of them fastballs in the inner half of the plate.
Let's take a look at both of them. First and the third. Unable to keep this one fair. And then in the 5th, another blast almost into the same spot.
But when you think of it, this is what it's come to when we're showing the A's offense. We're showing 2 foul balls. I mean,
you're saying that's unlikely to make the season-ending highlight rip?
Man. Well, it just represents the struggles that this ball club has had this year. Because again, when you're first in all of baseball in pitching, but you're a sub-500 ball club, it's tough.
Saw the left-hander Scott Downs up in the bullpen for the Angels as Suzuki takes a strike. 2-2.
Well, Weaver's basically said to Suzuki, I'm not going to let you tie the game with one swing. You're going to hit me. You're going to have to go to right field because I'm going to live on the outside part of the plate.
A drive into left. Wells backs up and plays it in front of the track. It's enough to tag and score DeJesus. Oakland is on the scoreboard in the 7th on a sacrifice fly ball off the bat of Kurt Suzuki.
Shortstop, number 2, Cliff Pennington.
So now Cliff Pennington with 2 out, a run in, and Jackson still at first. Well, the guess is, at least judging by who's up in both bullpens, that a couple of left-handers are going to have a chance to come on and pitch in the 8th. Scott Downs up for the Angels. Brian Fuentes has been up for Oakland. Pennington lines to right, and that drops in front of Torrey Hunter. It's the 3rd hit of the inning for the A's. And we might be seeing Scott Downs a little sooner than we thought.
Well, you see Soch and pitching coach John Butcher. Check that Mike Butcher. There's Mike Socha. He's coming out to make a move.
But it looked like Mike Socha was waiting for Jamal Weeks to be announced.
Well, did you see Mike Butcher said something, and then Soch said, all right. We may have talked him out of going out there.
Jamal Weeks has walked, singled, and stolen a base today. The A's have a chance to get right back in this ball game, and a big swing and a miss by Weeks.
See, watch. He thinks he's going to go out there, and he's talking. Maybe not. Just let's leave him out there. All right. All right. All right. It's on you, Mike. No, it's on you, Mike.
Weeks behind 0-2. You know, this has not been Jared Weaver, here's my fastball, go ahead and hit it today.
No, he's had to rely on the off speed, but I will also say this in both pitchers' cases, you know, the strike zone it hasn't been real consistent. You know, there have been some pitches on the outer half of the plate that are strikes sometimes. Next time they're not strikes.
Ball and 2 strikes to count to Jamal Weeks. Jackson at second. Pennington at first. The A's on the scoreboard for the first time today here in the 7th. Tried to go back out there, and it's 2-2 now.
That pitch was off the plate. I think now he probably goes back out there with an off-speed pitch. Backdoor breaking ball.
The 2-2.
right after him there with a fastball.
Coco Crisp sitting on a hitless day, rather. He waits next. 3 runs on 5 hits for the Angels, a run on 6 hits for Oakland. The run and 3 of the hits have come here in the 7th inning. It took the A's a little while to break through against Jared Weaver. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes. Full count.
So the runners are going. You've got a young hitter up at the plate. Great time to throw an off-speed pitch.
Runners go. The 3-2 pitch home is lined into shallow right center field. Hunter's up with it. It scores a run. Oakland has made it a 1-run ball game. Jemiah Weeks driving in a run to make it 3-2. And suddenly the Oakland A's have more than a pulse.
Well, a nice at-bat by Weeks, just battling, swinging up there with that first pitch fastball. Down 0-2, the off-speed. Didn't waste one. Tries to go back outside. Wow, Weeks fouling it off, battling up there, and then come to a 3-2 count. Weeks patient. Just lofts the ball into right center.
It's going to be off for Jared Weaver. Enters Scott Downs, and we'll be right back.
Your attention, please. Ladies and gentlemen, now pitching for Los Angeles, number 37, Scott Downs.
Well, this game may have felt like Jared Weaver and the Angels were in nothing but control, which they were, by the way, until this bottom of the 7th inning. Not only has Weaver been knocked out of the mix, but the A's have the tying run 90 feet away with 2 gone in the inning. And Scott Downs trying to retire one man, Coco Crisp, to retain that lead for Jared Weaver. A ball and no strikes to Crisp, batting right-handed against the southpaw. That one bounces away from Mathis and allows Weeks a very important, potentially 90 feet.
Well, Mathis has been doing a great job of keeping the ball in front of him all day long. And this one, though, just darting to the side. This one having that spin action on it. Almost like Fuentes cutting the ball. excuse me, Downs cutting the ball. Here's C. Weave, had a nice day. Ran into a bit of a bump right here. They're really in control for almost the entire game.
2 balls and no strikes to Coco Crisp. Lined it to short. It's knocked down by Eyeball, who recovers and gets Crisp. And the rally is limited to 2. To the 8th. It's now 3-2 ball game. Baseball's biggest sluggers went to bat for a number of charities, including Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Go to bat for your favorite cause and help them get to a better state. A great story Monday night in Phoenix. Robinson Cano taking home run derby swings with his dad on the mound. It is a new pitcher on the mound for the Oakland A's here in the 8th. The veteran left-hander Brian Fuentes takes over for Trevor Cahill and gets the meat of the Angels order: Wells, Callaspo, and Kendrick in the 8th. Vernon Wells singled, scored, and walked against the starter Trevor Cahill. The 3-time All-Star in front, 2 balls and no strikes. Sharply hits at third. Played nicely by Sizemore. Boy, he's been terrific out there today. Today's game presented by AT&T is sponsored by Michelin, a better way forward. By Burger King, now offering $1 frozen drinks. And by One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of Major League Baseball. One gone here in the top of the 8th now for Alberto Callaspo. Switch hitting corner infielder who's in from the right side for the first time today. And taking strike 1.
No, he's had a nice day so far. Been on base all 3 times. See, 2 walks and big double. Talk about Sizemore at third base today. Look at that. You know, this is a second baseman that just has been moved over to third since coming to the A's. Tell you what, a heck of a strong arm for a guy that had been playing second base for the Detroit Tigers. Again, gets his feet set, makes a good, strong throw to first.
Really late. A ball and 2 strikes to Cahill.
Swing now. I'll tell you, though, I faced Fuentes, and, you know, he's not a guy that gets it up there at 95, 96. He's 88, 89. But he is deceptive as heck. He's a right-handed hitter, very difficult to pick the ball up. I mean, you look at that, that's 90 miles an hour, and it's, like I said, there's not really a timing mechanism or something that, as a hitter, allows yourself to start, go back.
The 2-2 home, and a full count now to Alberto Cahill.
Now, see, Cahill took that one nicely. What I mean by that, a lot of body movement, like, oh my gosh, that's really inside, far inside. And I think he almost sold it. And that's close to the corner right there.
Howie Kendrick waiting next with 1 gone and the base is empty. And Fuentes just misses the corner on ball 4. Hey, earlier this week at the MLB Fan Cave in New York City, Philly superstars Chase Utley and Ryan Howard paid a visit. They took a tour, signed the wall. Fans feasted on free cheesesteaks. Why not? See photos of their visit and other videos at MLBFancave.com. Got to get some teams from the West out there to the Fan Cave, right? Let's fly the flag for the West. A runner aboard with 1 gone now for Howie Kendrick. You know, you talk about the deception in Brian Fuentes' game, and that's been with him everywhere he's been, from his closer days in Denver and beyond. His numbers, his splits this year really indicate an advantage in situations like this. At home, in the afternoon, and something about that funky modified Russ Ortiz style weirdo shot put delivery of his coming out of the white jersey. His ERA in the afternoon is microscopic, almost a half a run, 0.51 in 18 daytime appearances. Now at night it balloons up to an 8.69. I don't know, I'm always looking for an explanation when there's a discrepancy like that, and I've heard a lot of hitters say it in this ballpark when it gets glary, trying to pick up a ball out of that white uniform, depending on an arm angle, can be really tricky.
Or it could be that he's just facing all guys that have blue eyes.
Oh, yeah, blue eye theory.
It's tough to see.
Right.
Now, yeah, you know, again, hitting in the day, it's different. And sometimes, as a hitter, why you like hitting in the day, the ball usually carries better. But sometimes the glare, the brightness, all those sort of things, that impacts your ability up at the plate.
We'll check in at first with Cahill. Now Ron Romanic coming out. Yeah, that's a little bit some of what the hitters are up against. You see those terrific pictures of the clouds and the glare. The sun coming off of what's not so lovingly referred to as Mount Davis here at the Coliseum. It's a section of seats in center field that were constructed to lure the Raiders back from Los Angeles some years ago.
Well, I think you look at the batter's eye back there, and you've got shade, you've got bottom part of the batter's eye. It's bright. The top part is shaded. I mean, so it's not like this just solid green background that'll allow you to pick the ball up better.
3 balls and no strikes to Howie Kendrick now. Fuentes having his share of difficulty. Mark Trumbull waiting on deck. Of those Oakland A's who were unhappy during Bob Guerin's managerial tenure here, Brian Fuentes was the guy who kind of went public with that sentiment near the end of Guerin's run here with the A's. That's rolled over and chopped to third. Another good play by Sizemore to take care of Kendrick. And Cahill advances on the second out. You know, dating back to the very end of Guerin's run here in June. And Brian Fuentes making some comments as to how disappointed he was at how the team was run. Guerin was run out of here himself not long afterward. A pitching change, and we'll be right back. Keep this just a one-run deficit, and he selects a right-hander who last night had a really difficult line. Michael Wirtz faced 3 batters in the series opener yesterday, walked all 3 of them before being removed, and has an opportunity now less than 24 hours later to put that clunker behind him. He'll get Mark Trumbo with the runner at second and 2 out here in the 8th. Nothing in 1 to Trumbo.
Well, you have to expect that's all Trumbo's going to see, that breaking pitch on the outer part of the plate. Tremendous power. See Wirtz last night. 3 walks.
Bob Melvin playing the percentages here. Michael Wirtz been very stingy against the right-handed hitters this season, as opposed to Brian Fuentes, who's had his trouble on the right side of the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Cahill at second, as you saw a moment ago. Angels on top by a run. Their one-time 3-0 lead dwindling down to just a 1-run advantage after the A's played to 2 in the 7th. See the Oakland bullpen busy behind Michael Wirtz. Two balls and a strike. Dating back to the middle of last month, the A's bullpen ERA is under 2. And when Andrew Bailey came off the DL, everybody fell into place, and it immediately made a good bullpen a lot better. Three balls and a strike to Mark Trumbo.
You still got to go with the breaking ball, and you've got to go with it in the outer part of the zone. I mean, who cares if you walk Trumbo? You go after the next hitter. Izturis on deck for Mathis.
And a full count now, 3-2. It would be Meiser Izturis to bat next. Again, this is an Oakland bullpen that used 6 arms last night. Fuentes for 2/3 of an inning. Wirtz trying to finish the 8th. And there's a ball game left today. First of a doubleheader here between these two teams this afternoon. The payoff home. Got him swinging. Nothing in the Angel 8th to the bottom of the inning. Still 3-2 Los Angeles. TNT is sponsored by Viagra and by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. In a pitching and defense state of mind in Oakland this afternoon. Welcome back as Scott Downs continues in relief. Here in the home half of the 8th, he'll get Josh Willingham, Hideki Matsui, and Scott Sizemore. Angels on top, 3-2. Angels have never trailed in this ball game after scoring in the 1st, adding on in the 6th and 7th. The Oakland offense came in the bottom of the 7th inning when they broke through for 2 against Jared Weaver. And that's where we stand here in the 8th. Bounced out to 3rd. Callaspo gathers it in, and there's one away for Downs in the 8th. So now Hideki Matsui, who has had a so far forgettable afternoon at the plate, despite the well-wishers out there in Matsui land.
Hideki Matsui.
Something tells me that guy would have worn that mask regardless of who was playing today.
Well, again, you know, we talked about it earlier with Matsui. He's at the stage of his career where, yeah, he can still do some damage, but he's got to guess. He's got to think, well, I'm guessing fastball. I'm going to get things going a little earlier. You know, he can easily be pitched to now. You know, where a few years past, you know, he could hit a pitcher's pitch.
Takes a fastball for a strike. We gave you that note earlier, 499 career home runs, but didn't at the time have a chance to really get into it. That total includes the 167 that he's hit here stateside. The majority of his numbers have come, of course, in Japan. There have been 25 big leaguers to get to the 500 home run plateau. And 8 Japanese league players have reached that number. But no one has combined for 500. Kevin Bass had a little good run over there, but didn't have that kind of run here in the States. Not to mention the fact that they wouldn't pitch to him when he was hitting home runs out there because he was about to break Sadaharu Oh's record. And that one is off the wall. Matsui wheels into second. For a fleeting moment there, I thought he'd done it. And Bob Melvin wants to come out and make sure that he hadn't done it. They're going to ask for help on this call as we take a look at it again.
No, that hit that didn't. Yeah, that hit Houston. That did not. Now, see, there is a line out there in right field. And it's right, a yellow line right over the scoreboard. And you see that yellow line above the St. Louis. Bob Melvin is asking, did it go over that? And it clearly didn't.
And it looks like the Crew, nonetheless, they will go inside, quote unquote, and they'll take a look at this on replay once again. And for fans that don't know about how this works procedurally, 3 of the 4 umpires leave the field. 1 umpire stays on the field as, again, it looks pretty clear to our eyes that this is going to hold up as a double. This is all being reviewed downstairs here at the Coliseum by 3 of the 4 umpires, including the crew chief. And the replays roll from New York City. There's an office in Chelsea Market that also is home to MLB.com. And that's where this replay is being rolled from for the umpires to look at here on the other coast. They have full communications with the building in New York, and they're able to ask them for 1 or 2 more looks, multiple angles if they're available. And it's a system that has worked out flawlessly since it was implemented a few years ago.
Well, and we saw Bob Melvin when he was walking back to the A's dugout. You could hear or see guys were obviously talking to him or yelling to him from the dugout, and he gave like a hands down. I think they were telling him it didn't go over, and he said, well, you know, I mean, he already went out and asked for them to look. The umpires have to go through the process. I mean, no question we could save time if I just yelled from the booth here, hey, hit the Houston scoreboard. But it's good. They get to go through the procedure here, practice it.
Listen, it's not always what it appears. As you and I have seen plenty of calls that to us watching on our monitors might seem like, you know, easy calls one way or another. And then when they get the clean feed and the clean look on the actual review, it comes up with a different answer entirely. That area here, by the way, is tricky. And there it is. There's the call by Dale Scott. They're confirming Matsui at second base. It is a double after the review.
Well, that'll be it, though. Matsui got the stand out there. And he'll hustle off the field.
So Matsui will be pinch run for by Ryan Sweeney. We're going to enhance the replay of this and blow it up just a little bit for our audience. Like it dinged the O in Houston. So play resumes now with the runner in scoring position and Scott Sizemore the batter. Sizemore is hitless, 0 for 3, and dating back a little further, 0 for his last 17. Ryan Sweeney the pinch runner. A comebacker. Downs would have had a play on Sweeney had there been an Angel there to take the throw. Instead, he plays it safe and gets Sizemore at first, and there are 2 away. You know, you can't help but think in games like this, Eric, and we're covering the first of 2 here between the A's and Angels. A whole nother ball game. So, you know, all these tight moments and all these high stress relief appearances, you know, times it by 2 with a whole nother ball game to play today.
Well, it definitely places more pressure on the next game's starters. And what it also does is this game is still up for grabs, and you know, a doubleheader very difficult to sweep. But you want to win that first game. You want to win that one, get it out of the way.
2 gone.
And again, you still have to be concerned that you've got a game after this. You know, the A's have to be careful about getting into their bullpen, using everybody, but they're a base hit away right now from tying it, a home run away from going ahead.
I think with this game, we're seeing perhaps a glimpse into the future of Major League Baseball. In one sense, you're looking back because doubleheaders used to be so much more commonplace than they are now. But we talked to Mike Scioscia about this before the game today. And if baseball is going to realign, which it looks increasingly like they will, if they're going to change the postseason format, which it looks increasingly like they will, at some point you're going to have to play as many games or close to as many games in fewer days. And that might mean doubleheaders.
Yeah, you know, I think the players will be amicable to doubleheaders. The split doubleheaders, you know, where you play a game early in the day and then you clear out the stadium and then you play another one later on so you can get the gate. That's not good, especially if you're a player. That's a lot of sitting around. That's a real long day. You know, these games where they're back-to-back, I mean, that's all right. And I think guys would like the season to end in the middle part of September. They'd gladly trade it.
1-2 pitch to DeJesus. He has to move his feet. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And this is all because baseball has a stated goal of having the World Series wrap up before the calendar rips into November. That'll be the case this year. But if they add another level of games, another layer of games to the postseason format, it's going to be a challenge to finish the season by Halloween. And that's where doubleheaders might play a role in the future. The 2-2. Just missing as Mathis hangs it up there for Dale Scott. A 3-ball and 2 strike count now. Bullpen ready if needed for the Angels. Right-handed bats due up next. That's why Rich Thompson is ready to go. Payoff pitch. Ball 4. And Mike Butcher coming out to chat with Downs.
Again, Downs not missing by much. Little outside, little inside. Again, some of those calls, you know, the pitchers have been getting. Just like I said, there hasn't been a lot of consistency today, which, you know, that happens. There's no question. I mean, you're not going to have a perfect game every time.
Well, so it's going to be Connor Jackson now. Jackson's 1 for 3 today. Singled and scored 1 of the 2 runs in the 7th. You know, it would seem, at least on paper, that in leaving Downs out there, the Angels have played into Bob Melvin's hands. Connor Jackson this year hits almost 100 points better against left-handers than he does against right-handed pitching. Here's the 1-0. 2 balls and no strikes now. Kurt Suzuki waiting next.
Again, though, Downs has been their guy, that setup guy to get the Jordan Walden in the 9th. Mike Scioscia telling us beforehand that, you know, that middle bullpen area, they've got some young guys, just haven't had guys that have taken that role and run with it yet.
2 balls and a strike to Connor Jackson now.
You see, and those are the types of pitches that I'm talking about. That pitch looks like that's off a couple inches, but that one's a strike. The next one will be in the same place, and it's a ball. It makes it very difficult for the pitcher and the hitter.
Two balls and 2 strikes. Scott Downs is important enough for his absence to in part explain why the Angels hiccuped as deeply as they did in April and early May. Started the season on the DL after signing a lucrative 3-year free agent contract to come over from Toronto. And it wasn't just his absence, but it was some underperformance. Fernando Rodney struggling, Kevin Jepson struggling, and the Angel bullpen was a mess in the early part of the season. It's taken a while for it to reconfigure with different personnel and better performance.
Well, and Fernando Rodney out on a rehab assignment. They hope to get him back soon. You know, Jepson, who was such a huge part of this bullpen a few years ago, just doesn't have the velocity like he used to.
A chopper to short. Tough hop. Ibar stays with it and gets Jackson to retire the side. 2 are left stranded in the 8th. To the top of the 9th is still 3-2 Angels. Angels still on top of the 8th, 3-2, top half of the 9th inning, and Oakland has turned it over once again in the bullpen. Right-hander Faustino de los Santos takes over here in the 9th. He'll face the 8, 9, and then top of the order hitters for the Angels, Mathis, Trout, and Ibar. De Los Santos making just his 6th appearance of the season. He comes on as a part of a change defensively that also inserts Ryan Sweeney into left. Sweeney, you'll recall, pinch ran for Hideki Matsui, and he'll stay out there in his place in the outfield. Faustino De Los Santos was recalled from AAA Sacramento on July 1st and is up for the 3rd time this season with the big league club. Hard throwing right-hander with very good numbers in the AA Texas League at Midland and with the River Cats. And he's that swing guy, that guy that's been up and down from the bushes when needed.
And what he is right now is he's a thrower. You mentioned it's just a live arm. He's going to get it. Saw 96 miles an hour right there with a lot of movement.
Two balls and 2 strikes, the count to Jeff Mathis. And he held back there to fill it at 3-2. You saw the information on how De Los Santos was acquired by the A's. He came with Gio Gonzalez and Ryan Sweeney in exchange for Nick Swisher back in January of 08. Leadoff hitter reaches here in the 9th as we have time for a DirecTV game break. Mets and Phillies, and kind of a rude greeting for Cole Hamels. His defense fails behind him. Look at this. Couple of all-star guys on the right side of the infield. Ball drops. Daniel Murphy hit that ball, and he hit this one as well. Solo shot against Cole Hamels. Hamels went only 4 1/3 and gave up 6 earned runs on 8 hits. All Mets this afternoon. So in the National League East, the Phillies on top by 3 over Atlanta. And Atlanta in action a little bit later on tonight. Here's Mike Trout now with the leadoff hitter aboard.
This can't be fun trying to lay down a bunt against De Los Santos. Again, a lot of movement. Balls coming in at 96, 97. Everybody thinks, oh, just get the bunt down. Oh, everybody should be able to do it. You can do it in the batting cages when it's coming at about 60, but a little different when a guy's throwing 97, 98.
And 1 away as he pops it up for Kurt Suzuki. We talked about De Los Santos coming over in a deal with Gio Gonzalez, who wore a microphone for us today.
Hi, Ronnie. Ron Romanek, my pitching coach, the love of my life. How are you doing, Ronnie? B-Max, say something. I don't care if it's insulting me. Go ahead, say it. You know, we haven't scored yet. I mean, are we going to score yet or what?
Oh, you might, man. What you doing?
I think we can say this for sure. Gio would make a terrible government witness in any mob prosecution case. That's lined into the opposite field, and a fine sliding catch made by the new guy out there. Isn't that always the case? Ryan Sweeney out there for his first handful of pitches, and he has to move to make this play.
Well, Sweeney gets a nice jump and able to make a sliding catch right there. See, interesting, keeps the glove up, doesn't turn it.
Well, Ryan Sweeney, a very good defensive outfielder, as you can see. And the A's franchise record for consecutive games, errorless games in the outfield, is one that's about to be broken. Torrey Hunter now with a runner aboard and 2 gone. Been a quiet day so far for Torrey, 0 for 3 with the base on balls.
Again, De Los Santos just trying to keep this a 1-run ball game. Going to have to face Jordan Walden, the Angels.
Big swing and a miss.
I mean, you see that he's just rearing back and throwing. I mean, this isn't any I'm going to hit the corner here, I'm going to set him up with an off speed. When you have a live arm like this, you can get away with it. As a hitter, you're just looking for a fastball.
broken bat roller to shortstop. Pennington fumbles it on his way to second. Guy who led the American League with 25 errors at shortstop last year kicks it here. We'll see how it's scored officially, but there are runners at first and second with 2 gone now.
And just unable to make the transfer, having a rough day today. You know, that right there. Remember in that first inning, never looking at Ibar, who was on first base and was going on the pitch. Ground ball hit the short. He just continued on to third base.
So scored that ball as a fielder's choice, E6.
Number 53.
And now Bobby Abreu with a chance to knock in an insurance run here. Abreu has singled in a run in 4 tries today. You know, the thing that strikes me about Faustino de los Santos when I look at him, and this has nothing to do with anything from a pitching regard, is that he's done a fine job cultivating that Irvin Santana beard. He looks a lot like the Angel right-hander scheduled to go in game 2 today.
He gets it up there a little quicker, but you're right.
Dominican-born right-hander Irvin Santana. Dominican-born right-hander Faustino de los Santos. And don't get me going on Fred Manrique and Al Padrique. 1-2 to Bobby Abreu. When Oakland bats in the bottom of the ninth, they'll have the 8, 9, then top of the order hitters. De Los Santos trying to deliver them there down by a run.
Now you just got to go with the fastball. You don't want to get beat with an off-speed pitch. It is obviously your secondary pitch. Again, with as much movement as he has.
The 2-2. Lined into right. Being waved in to score is Jeff Mathis. And the Angels do ensure their 1-run lead. Now 4-2 Los Angeles.
That's just a young pitcher right there. You throw 97 miles an hour. You've got good movement on the ball, and you're going to try and trick somebody with a 85 mile an hour get me over off speed pitch.
Vernon Wells.
Now it just doesn't make a lot of sense right there. Again, if you're going to get beat with your best stuff.
So here's Vernon Wells now. Wells has singled, scored, walked, and stolen a base tonight. Cliff Pennington having trouble with that ground ball. The error with 2 out, opening up the opportunity for the Angels to hang another score here. 2 balls and no strikes.
Well, see, and that's the thing. When you have a young pitcher like De Los Santos, you don't make the play behind him defensively, and then he gives up a hit. You know, he gets a little flustered out there.
To 3-0. And a switch hitter waiting next. A 4-pitch walk issued to Vernon Wells. And now Brad Ziegler's up in the bullpen.
And see, this is a thing where your bullpen, you may have to go in there and get somebody for De Los Santos. And it goes back to Pennington making that play at short or not making that play at short. You know, all those things have a domino effect. And then how is that going to impact your starter next game, Rich Harden, who has a tendency to throw a lot of pitches.
Bases loaded now with a run in and 2 away for Alberto Callaspo, who takes a strike. It's kind of an exercise in with Rich Harden. It's just kind of an exercise in holding your breath on occasion, because his health has not been what he certainly would like to be able to claim the last few years. That's sprayed into left for Sweeney, who makes the catch to retire the side. The Angels do add on, however. We go to the bottom of the 9th inning now, a 2-run Los Angeles lead. For their rookie closer Jordan Walden to pop some eyes here, as he did in Phoenix on Tuesday night at the 82nd Annual Midsummer Classic. Here's a little bit of what he had at the All-Star game. Hey, Troy Tulowitzki, here's 100. Yeah, there's 99 for you, Scott Rowland. See ya.
It's funny, I was in the National League dugout, and Scott Rowland came back in after striking out. He walked down, and he says, "You got to be kidding me. You're going to expect me to hit that? No chance."
23-year-old rookie right-hander for whom, if you weren't aware of him, well, here he is. He's pretty good. And he has not only solidified but dazzled in that Angels bullpen this year in his rookie campaign. Kurt Suzuki real late on a fastball, chops it out to first for Mark Trumbo, and there's one away. The Angels have done such a wonderful job this year replenishing their big league roster with homegrown talent, the likes of Mark Trumbo, Peter Borges. We're seeing Mike Trout, Jordan Walden. They have drafted and developed magnificently the last few years, and it's allowed them to withstand some of the injuries that might have crippled other teams. One gone now for Cliff Pennington. A 99-mile-an-hour strike. I know it's an often used cliche, and it's been used with others, but it is easy gas from Jordan Walden.
Well, and what that means, just not a lot of effort out on the mound, or it doesn't look like there's a lot of effort. Very smooth, very controlled, and then poof. And as a hitter, when you're trying to battle against these guys, you know, that throw that hard, you've got to you really got to sit on one pitch. You sit on that fastball.
Ball and 2 strikes. The count home to Kurt Suzuki. To Cliff Pennington, rather.
And you see Walden going there with the off speed, but here comes a fastball, probably on the inner half.
And it's grounded at first base for Trumbo. There are 2 gone here in the bottom of the 9th. Time for the Just for Men Keep Your Edge spotlight. And it belongs to Jared Weaver this afternoon, who cruised through the first 6 innings. Didn't hit a little road bump until the bottom half of the 7th. That's when the A's got their 2 runs. With Weaver picking up right where he left off prior to the All-Star break and en route to his 12th winner of the year. Began the day with a 1.86 ERA to lead Major League Baseball, and it'll raise only incrementally as a result of his 2 runs allowed today.
Well, Weeks has had a nice day. He's been on base. He's created some havoc. It's one thing that A's fans have something to look forward to right now.
Count is 0-2 to Jemile Weeks, and Oakland is down to their final strike this afternoon. Second game of this doubleheader starts about a half an hour after the completion of the first one.
Yeah, pretty good crowd on hand right now. They get treated to 2 ball games.
If you're watching this game in northern or southern California, your local broadcast teams will take back over for the nightcap. Victor Rojas and Mark Gubizzo will come back to work here in game 2, as will Glenn Kuiper and Ray Fosse for the A's television audience. So if the Angels hang on and win this one, they will have evened up the series at 1 win apiece. And they will put themselves in a pretty good position, Eric, to win their 9th consecutive series. And that would be a franchise record. It would tie a franchise record. Two balls and 2 strikes from Jordan Walden to Jemile Weeks.
And the last thing you want to do right now is walk Weeks. You throw 99, you got to make him earn it.
That insurance score in the top half of the 9th inning looming even larger here. We'll be talking about Coco Crisp on deck as the winning run. Instead, base is empty, 2 out. And Jemile Weeks has to get on base in order to give Coco a chance to do anything here. Hey, Coco Crisp will have a chance to bat as Jemile Weeks has another base hit. It's quite an afternoon he's put together. 3 for 4 with a base on balls and an RBI.
Well, ever since he's been up, he's shown a lot of energy. You know, by his play, just the attitude. You know, he's not the defensive second baseman Mark Ellis was, but offensively he can do a lot more things. It's a great 9-pitch at-bat battle for Weeks against an all-star closer.
So now Coco Crisp, who is 0 for 4. Weeks is running on the first pitch, and Coco Crisp pops it up. That'll do it in Oakland. The Angels, thanks in part to the strong stylings of Jared Weaver, who earns his 12th winner of the year, have taken Game 1 of this doubleheader by a final score of 4-2 in Oakland this afternoon. Your updated standings in the American League West. Rangers on tap later tonight in Seattle, and the Angels have gained a half a game closing ground. We're back right after this.